Welcome back to Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast. Post-Christmas recording, although this is going up a little bit later. I've got my friendly little gecko looking at me, trying to go into the back of the cables. He needs to pick up his act, cleaning up the mosquitoes in this room. I'm dazed and confused, but BORA-hansgrohe preview, Benji. Big changes of the team, kit changes, big roster changes.
Yeah.
But first, we have to review their 2023 season. You've got the notes here. How would you assess, or how should we assess their season?
Well, it's a team that should be doing relatively well on World Tour level with the riders they have in store before 2023. So 7 World Tour wins, 23 total wins. That's the numbers after 2023. But if we take a look at the Grand Tours, they were actually present in Grand Tours, as in Kemna topped in the Giro. But in addition to that, Nico Denz was a godlike baroudeur in 2023. Like, won 2 stages.
He became my enemy.
Became your enemy. So I can't give him too much credit, or ooh, I'm in trouble. Tour de France incoming. Jai Hindley finishing 7th in GC, but he crashed there. So without that crash, I think he could have fought for a top 5 maybe, because he was looking really good in week 1.
And stage win and the day in yellow is nice.
Yeah, and it was a big stage as well. It was the breakaway stage on Muddy Blanc, where then we had Vingegaard dropping Pogacar in the back, and it was a magnificent stage, that one. In addition to that, Jordi Meeus also won on the Champs-Élysées. I feel like that's kind of a fluke. Not really. He still did it. He's still good enough to do it, but it's not like he's going to repeat that every year to me. You know, it's not like he's the next upcoming Philipsen for me. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I mean, would you... Let's see. I mean, just looking through the rest of Jordi Meeus' results, like, he's not... Maybe I'm underrating him a little bit. Like, he's 7th in Milano-Torino, and, you know, Swiss wasn't exactly... He actually wasn't bad in pure sprints. He actually just didn't get sent to a lot of pure sprints. It's kind of curious, in fact. Like, Tour de Suisse is not the best race for sprinters. Norway isn't like a... well, I lie. Like, Tour of Norway, you're getting beaten by Mike Turnison in pure bunch sprints. So, like, maybe it's because it was a little uphill. Yeah, it's not replicable. Maybe also he is better than just like, freak... He's like a scrub who just got lucky. Like, no, he had to have been doing good power. He had to. Like, by definition.
He's not a scrub. He's not a scrub. He did benefit from being on the right side of the road on the Champs-Élysées, which that's research and being able to pull it off due to positioning. So still credits to him for pulling that off. I just don't think that on the flat he's competing with the top sprinters yet, maybe. Maybe in the future he will. Now we see Patrick trying to attack mosquitoes because his gecko is not doing it right. But anyway, on to La Vuelta. Vlasov and Kian were 7th and 8th in GC. There was a bit of a rupture opening up in the team at that point. And Lennart Kemna won 1 stage. It was a stage where GC was neutralized and he was fighting against Sobrero, if I recall correctly, where it was like the yo-yo effect on Alas Hill. But overall, that's 5 stage wins in Grand Tours, which I think that's good. And that's top 10 in every single Grand Tour. I will say, however, that there's one issue, Patrick, with this. I would have expected them to top 5, but maybe I'm being too harsh because of the crash of Hindley then.
I think in terms of GC, this team is, in the perception of people's minds, worse than people think it is.
Okay.
In terms of, like, consistent GC competitiveness throughout the season, throughout the 3 Grand Tours. And that's not just me saying it. If you listen to Ralph Denk's interview, or was it Adar, one of their interviews on the cycling podcast recently, very good interview actually, and he said it wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I swear, I recall correctly.
They do it every year, but they do it every year. Yeah, it was Aldo. He said the season wasn't good enough.
But he said emotions, They fight on emotions.
That is, yeah. That is funny that people think that. Yeah, I'm not sure that's necessarily a good thing, but people just say it like, yeah, we make decisions on emotions, but it's like, I reckon you don't. I reckon you look at the power data and think logically who's going to be your best chance to win today. But yeah, he said their season wasn't as good as they hoped it would be, and I think he meant in the stage races in GC in particular with that, because the wins were good. As you said, wins in all 3 Grand Tours. This team knows how to win, particularly a breakaway stage. They know how to win, even when they're not necessarily the best in that breakaway. And I think the highlight of the season for me is that Jai Hindley stage, just because that was... Yeah, just such an entertaining stage, and UAE are panicking. He's got in there, showing just good racing now. So I really like that stage. So, but classics, literally nowhere. Like they're archaic in the classics, right?
Yeah, it's only the Beemertij Classics and the Ashburn Frankfurts and so forth that they can podium. San Sebastian a podium as well, and then Lombardia 4 with Vlasov. That's okay, but I feel like my overall feeling is that I would expect them to podium a one-day race a bit more than they are currently doing, because those races that they podium are also not the ones that are the top level of World Tour Classics. Obviously, in the Cobble Classics, I don't expect it, but I'd expect Vlasov to do better in the Hill Classics, maybe in like an LBL, for example. Then look at the 1 week races.
Him and Nagita. Yeah. Remember him and Nagita in LBL? What, 22?
Yes, correct. Yeah. 1 week races, the same thing with Grand Tours. It's just that they top 10 a lot of them, like Dauphiné with Hindley, Tirreno with Kemna, Basque Country with Higuita, then Tour de Romandie and Swiss with Kian. And then I'm feeling like, okay, I expect kind of a bit more than that. I expect fighting for top 5 where they're now top 10, and fighting for the podium where they're now top 5. So kind of in 2024, it's just, I won't go into it too in depth yet, but I feel like they should just aim at one step higher than they reach everywhere, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's the plan with Roglic, right? They're kind of there. Well, they are a mid-table team, like in terms of points on everything. They really aren't, but it is surprising when you see that Alpecin de Koenig, Lotto Destiny, Groupama, Bahrain by a big margin are way ahead of BORA-hansgrohe in terms of points, which is more indicative of general competitiveness throughout the season. And they were 10th, so firmly a mid-table team in 2023, just with a couple more, obviously more premier wins than say a Groupama and EF, but maybe they were just missing that finisher in terms of Roglic. But they do have a lot of money as well tied up in guys that maybe didn't perform, like Buchmann, like Bennett this season. He's obviously gone now. Like Jungels, like Schachmann. So like Vlasov, really.
Yeah, because like a rider like Polit is also, he podiumed Roubaix back in the day. Like, this is a rider that's not super cheap anymore as a consequence, I would reckon. So it's not like he's on 200k.
German.
So they expect him to perform well. And yes, he's a good rouleur, but there are cheaper versions that can do the rouleur work that Polit can do. But you'd expect more than just that from Polit, is how I would say it. But let's go to those outgoing transfers for a second. Bennett is going, like you said, to Decathlon AGZ. Conrad is going to a Little Trek. Polit to UAE Team Emirates. First of all, those three, I think those are three riders that were on notable salaries. Conrad, because of past,
good money.
top 10 in Giro and so forth. Those three riders are on decent money. So it's logical to me that they let them go. Even though I think they'll miss Polit, I don't think they can financially compete with UAE Team Emirates on that. So that's one where you just have to... Yeah,
they said it just wasn't worth it.
Hands up, fuck it, let him go. The other ones, Ide Schelling going to Astana, Fabro going to Polti Cometa, Matthew Walls going to Groupama, Korechki somewhere, he's just out. He was that mountain biker, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, mountain biker.
Archbold retiring. Before we go to Uiterbrooks, let's talk about those for a second. Could they have kept Ide Schelling, and would it have been clever to do so?
Don't you think that one was strange? Because I swear him to Astana was announced early in the year. It wasn't like, September. It was early, and I was like, Ide Schelling, because Astana's not exactly been like the, where everyone wants to go to go win the tour. Like, they didn't pay rise for a bit. not exactly been performing well if you look at the table. So that was strange to me. But I did hear they offer some riders some money.
Okay. And they do love a Dutchman every now and then. Lars Boom, Liebe Westra, and now Ide Schelling. So they've got a history with Dutch people in their past. So maybe they just like having a Dutch rider in.
But if you're Schelling, don't you think they always underrated him a little bit? Like I remember, I remember Catalunya stage 1. I think Conrad crashed, and like Conrad's never won a sprint, right? He's 32 years old. I don't think he's ever won a sprint. He's won one professional road race. It was that Tour de France stage. Yeah. And he gets a lot of opportunities, this guy. Like, he gets to go for his own race a lot. Case in point was... anyway, stage 1 of Catalunya, they were supposed to go for him. It was an uphill kicker. Yeah. And Schelling's got a better sprint than Conrad. Yes. It's undeniable. And he only got to go for his own race, came third there behind Remco and Roglic, who were killer on that sort of finish, because Conrad crashed. And then he ended up winning a Catalunya stage maybe a month later. So maybe they weren't kind of preferencing him where he thought maybe, and in that case, justifiably, hold on, why am I riding for Conrad in this situation? And Astana said, hey, you want to lead every Ardennes race? Because I heard they offered Healy a contract. So maybe they're saying to Schelling, you get to lead Amstel, you're Dutch, you get to lead Brabantse-Pijl, you get to go for the stage in any of those Spanish mixed races, beat Aaron Baru anytime you like. Maybe it's that, Benji.
Yeah, that's possible. That's very possible. But I also feel like I still wouldn't have gone for Astana if I was Schelling. I think there would have been better options for him towards the end of the season, I would expect. Just because it's a rider that in the past has performed, but feels like there's still potential to the upwards trajectory. And Fabro's also an interesting one. He's had really good moments in his past. Remember that Tirreno stage to Prato di Tivo, whatever. I always say it wrong. He got like 4th or 5th or something, I recall correctly.
7th,
the one that Pogacar won. 7th, close enough. 4th and 7th.
I'll let him go.
I would probably on his recent results too. He's a domestique, but it's kind of like he stagnated in the same way that Dunbar stagnated at Ineos, where he had some performances at welter level on that Prati di Tivo climb, and then he was doing Hungary-esque kind of stage, or was it that Romanian stage race? I don't remember what it's called. Sibiu Tour. For example, on that hill towards the end of that race, also those kind of races he was competitive in necessarily for GC, I would expect, but that's kind of where it stopped. He did domestique well in certain races, but it's not irreplaceable, is how I would say it. And Matthew Walls, I think, is replaceable. Korečki, I don't remember seeing at any point in 2023.
Yeah, I think he's just, I don't know. He was supposed to go to B&B and then they collapsed. Walls is an interesting, he's had a lot of crashes, I think, a lot of bad luck. Like if you look at his season, he had 4 months out. Maybe with sickness from Hungary to Tour of Britain, only 33 race days. His Neo-Pro season was his best. Came in with 2 pro wins out the gate, Norway and Piemonte. But yeah, he wasn't able to continue it. I'm glad he's going to Groupama. I think that's a good spot for him, actually.
With Jake
Stewart he'll have a good program there. So hopefully he can kick things back off there. But I think it also makes sense. If I was him, Groupama has a nicer program, I think. So yeah, none of those guys are irreplaceable, and certainly the first 3 you mentioned maybe even add up to Roglic, or not nearly, but there'd be some way to it. And then there's also Kian Uterbrooks. There was finally the agreement was reached between the 2 teams and the rider for him to go to Visma Lease bike, so he's out the door. We've already spoken at length about it. I guess what we haven't spoken about, Benji, could BORA-hansgrohe, that's the one. Like, if he goes to Visma Lease bike and wins the Tour, or podiums the Giro or something, like, could they have done anything differently to keep him?
Well, it depends. Like, is the story about the bullying true or not? Are we just going to ignore it because the teams have reached an agreement, or because nobody's spoken about it ever since the teams got an agreement?
Yeah.
Like, can we like bring that up for a second? Bora, did you do anything wrong or not? Or Kian wants to keep it aside because he doesn't want to make a soap opera of it, but someone leaked it. I don't think it's Kian. I don't think it's Bora. So
I thought it was, again, like, if someone makes a, say, let's think about it, right? Say someone signs a 4-year contract, sponsors sign onto the team.
Yeah.
And then a staff member or someone else makes a WhatsApp group for 2 weeks about a rider. Can they rip up a 4-year contract on the basis of that? But that's not the conversation we're having, right? It's like, that aside, because if that's the litmus test, if it's just that, then, oh man, sponsors are in a precarious position, contracts are in a precarious position. But it's still, that can constitute bullying, but we don't know. And as you said, it's like kind of, now no one wants to really speak about it. Like, I did think some of the responses were strange when they were like even that Adag interview when he's like, oh, well, you know, sometimes it does rub older riders up the wrong way, you know, when a young rider is obsessed with performance. I was like, well, what do you mean by that? Like,
I heard a similar thing from a Kelderman on the Rode Lanterne the other day, where he said it was sad to read, but he saw a very motivated guy who wants to get to the top as fast as possible. He's ambitious and so forth. But he also mentioned that I don't remember the exact quote, so I won't misquote him. So I'll just skip what I was going to say.
But then the flip side is, and we were saying this, I was saying this, like, I thought their program in general, like from a outside perspective, their handling of him was perfect. He had 1% of the pressure Remco's had on him in his Neopro contract, maybe less than 1%.
Mate, they rejected an LRCP interview 3 years ago.
For Kian?
Yeah. Because he had to study, which is a good reason, to be fair, but...
I mean, he must have been like 17. He got to do L'Avenir, which he won. He got to then start the Vuelta, zero pressure, got top 10, really good start, got to do other stage races like Tour de Romandie, again, no pressure. Bear in mind, it's like his 1.5 years into his Neo Pro contract, because really he started properly after the Tour de l'Avenir. So I thought from that perspective, the slowly approach, and he was getting good results and performing. I thought that was all a really good job. But
Kian has a lot to thank to Bora too.
Yeah. But ultimately, we don't know. We don't know. Oh, well, we weren't there in the
Antikian
every time. Group. Yeah. Did it exist?
I must have. Nobody's gonna make that up, eh?
It's just to be a strange thing to make up.
And the fact that nobody's like going out there and saying that it didn't exist. Also,
no one said that group didn't exist. No one. You noticed that? No one said it didn't exist. It's like, no, we supported him. We supported him on the road.
Exactly. Anyway, bullying stories aside, because I don't like that topic in this sport. I hope that goes away, bullying, but go ahead.
But from their perspective, like maybe they were like, we actually have a pretty standard, normal professional environment. He didn't fit in with it. And there's nothing they could have done. Then there's nothing we could have done unless we change our whole structure to accommodate this one person. There's nothing we could have done to keep him. So no, like, that's it. Like, we can't.
Maybe they think we are equal to everybody. We've got a bullying group against every rider in our team, not just Kian. So that seems fair.
I don't know. But I think it's hard to really draw firm conclusions without actually knowing exactly what happened. But that's just something to bear in mind, that if he's a flop at Visma, everyone will say, oh, well, bad apple. And BORA-hansgrohe did, and if he does well at Visma, people say, oh, well, how could they have let that talent go or not made him the king? And it's like, well, actually, it was a bit more complicated than that.
The one thing that stuck badly to me was, I think, Michel Wuit, Belgian commentator. You always got to take what he says with a grain of salt, of course, but he did mention that one of the staff members, I think one of the scouts at Bora, was like saying that, he was a bad apple, Kian, and that Jumbo will realize that soon enough. But how bad can an apple be? if you win Avenir so young, and if you are one of the best performing youngsters on their first Grand Tour behind Pogacar and so forth. Like, as in Pogacar, first Grand Tour was great as well, obviously. The Vuelta, if I recall correctly, podium.
Yeah.
But Keon already stepping up to top 10 in his first Grand Tour. How bad of an apple can you be? Even when it comes to personality, you got to be motivated. If you're a dick or not behind the scenes, that, hey, as long as the team can handle that, should be able to perform still, eh?
Yeah, but it's okay to be a dick if you're the best. That's life.
Relatively.
It's not a people will put up if you go do the business, people will put up with a lot. But if
I agree, but
if you're coming eighth,
a dick.
I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying in life, if you are the best and you win, people will accommodate a lot more than if you're coming eighth in the Vuelta. There's less room, I think. So, what was my point? Oh yeah, but that scout said he can't climb and can't improve his climbing. So I don't know. Yeah. They should maybe fire that guy.
How bad of a talent can it be if your scouting department that you're a part of scouted him?
Yeah, it was also worth just saying stuff like, yeah, I don't know if the guy wasn't directly quoted. Anyway, that was a big soap opera during the off season. It certainly kept us going at the start of December. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But again, they got Roglic in, and right now, if you compare the victories in 23 of Roglic and Erdebrooks, there's only one clear winner. That's Primož Roglic, the best rider to change teams since when, Benji?
Ooh, since Sagan to Total?
Sagan to Bora.
Well, it depends on whether you consider their entire palmarès.
No. If they're actually not watched. So like Luke just put in the chat Froome. I don't mean no, not Froome. Like someone who's good.
Richie Porte-Trek?
yeah, he was good.
He was good,
but I think this is the best.
Roglic.
I think this is the best rider to transfer since Sagan to Bora in 2016.
Where did Contador end his career? Trek.
Yeah, but he won. He won the Giro, then was kind of meh.
Yeah.
So it's a big signing. It's like this is not a every annual signing. This is not even a once every 2 years. This is a big signing, and they got Primož Roglic in, as well as a host of other riders. The Slovenian who obviously won the Giro, podium the Vuelta, and won a whole host of other races. Is this? I think it's a coup for them. Like they had to do it, right? If you. They said they got the money, they saved it up. If you were them, you got to pull the trigger.
I think so as well. And it's also, we've seen over the last few years that they've been trying to like assess a group of podium Avengers for Grand Tours, as in riders that could potentially podium a Grand Tour. But there was no one really in there that shown to me as that one can win the Tour de France. They won the Giro with Hindley, but I didn't see Hindley as suddenly winning the Tour de France necessarily as a follow-up of that. So that wasn't envisioned yet. So they need to find a rider that can do that, winning the Tour de France, because that was the next step. So Roglic being on the market, and they're visibly trying to get that rider, and you have the money like you say, then I think you need to shoot at it. And they shot at it, and yes, is it risky? Yes, he's not 21 anymore. He will go downwards in form over the next couple of years, but he still has the potential to fight for a Grand Tour victory, and potentially for the Tour de France victory if everything goes right. But everything has to go right sometimes for GC. He's a good rider with a solid TT. A good TT, I would say. Climbing, he's good. Does he win with minutes? No, because he doesn't necessarily drop people by minutes. He's a finisher, but that's also a beautiful skill in my opinion. It also makes the races a lot more entertaining. If the gap is 10 seconds versus a minute, I'm okay with it. But I would also say outside of that,
the Giro was terrible.
That's true. But that's also because
I've got. You know that Kurt Angle meme that's on TikTok at the moment? Have you seen the video of Kurt Angle where he's just staring at people?
Who the fuck is Kurt Angle?
Brother.
Wait, who the fuck is Kurt Angle?
He's a WWE wrestler.
Never seen him die in my life.
You don't know Kurt Angle? He's an Olympic wrestler.
The only WWE person I know is Logan Paul at this point.
Dude, the angle slam. I'll put you in an ankle lock next time I see you, Benji. Anyway, how I look at people when they say the Giro's actually, if you really think about it, the Giro is the best race on. It's the best Grand Tour. It's the most beautiful and it's got the most exciting. It's like, no, you're outing yourself. You don't watch the race. Like, I'll look at that person whilst Davide Bice is like, him and Karel Varcek are doing 3 watts per kilo to win a stage. And you tell me versus like Hindley against fucking Pogacar and Vingegaard in the Murray Blanc. Anyway, why'd I go there? So I just had COVID, so I'm all over the place today. I was just saying the Giro wasn't that exciting. And Roglic, yeah, they had to do it.
Which also changes the role of other riders in the team necessarily. As in, Hindley's not the number 1 GC rider in the team anymore when Roglic joins. So
and maybe not even allowed to lead a different Grand Tour. Like maybe he has to be a domestique now in the Tour.
That's going to be a very serious one. We'll discuss it pretty soon. Before we do that though, quickly, other transfers. Completely forgot about this one, by the way. Daniel Felipe Martinez going to Bora. That was announced so long ago in my head. That
strange.
And it's also like Martinez was kind of just not that good in 2023. Like he had previous years that were much better, where he was fighting for GC in Basque Country, if I recall correctly, won that ahead of Remco,
yeah.
Then he also was a great domestique for Bernal in 2021, but he wanted to climb up from that. The man has potential to top 10 a Grand Tour, to top 5 a Giro, to top 5 a lower competition Vuelta. But he's a domestique in this team if all these riders join, right?
4-year deal. Oh. I wouldn't have given Danny Martinez a 4-year deal.
Would you have taken a 4-year deal if you're Martinez?
Fuck yeah. It won't be cheap. He's won the Dauphiné. He's top 5 of the Giro. He's won Basque Country not 18 months ago. It won't be cheap. But man, 4-year deal. As a 1-week racer, I love him. Good TT, good on the easy mountain stages, good punch, good racer. Like if you want to watch someone managing a tricky final stage to win GC, that stage 6 in Basque Country, he was just really really good stuff.
Yeah.
But in Grand Tours, apart from that Giro with Bernal, he's sick half the time. He DNFs. He's not looked good for a lot of the Grand Tours. And then sometimes he does come good for a stage, can win a stage, and maybe that's what they want him for. Maybe he's in the Kuss role. Maybe that's. But they signed him before Roglic. Bear in mind.
I see him in the Kuss role regardless of this. Now that the tables have turned, I think they signed him for GC purposes though, and that he signed for GC purposes on purpose though. That being said, I think his roles have changed after Roglic joined. Because the tables just turn and he's part of that thing that changed. But also, I think if Roglic doesn't join, Welsford goes to the Tour de France to sprint.
Do you reckon? Yeah, probably.
So Welsford, an incoming transfer, a sprinter that came from DSM, which Bennett is leaving, Van Poppel staying behind, which is a great lead out still in my opinion. I know you feel like he's gone down a little, but I think it's still there. I think it also depends on the sprinter and the chemistry between the two, so it's curious of how that's going to work with Welsford. But Welsford is a sprinter in 2023, which, in my opinion, is still very underrated, where San Juan and also in the Renui Tour, the sprints that he did there, in the Renui Tour, he beat Merlier head-on and so forth. So he's a really fast, pure sprinter. Problem is, he's not the most versatile, to be certain, and his positioning is an issue, but that's also partially because DSM was goddamn terrible at positioning him well. So if Van Poppel can help that, if Mullen, who stays, can help that, then I think Welsford can make a real step forward and can be competitive in the Giro, because that's, I think, where he's likely to be going then if he doesn't go to the Tour de France necessarily. Right?
Yeah, I mean, he has to go to the Giro. If you're not, like, otherwise you can't send him to the Vuelta. Having again made it illegal, so unless you're not going to send him to a Grand Tour, he has to do the Giro.
First 7 days, all sprinters, Vuelta, have to.
Even some of them are tricky. But yeah, I would send Wells, yeah, if you can do the first week. But yeah, I thought that was a good signing at the time. I still think it is, and they'll be saving a bit of money in that respect. Others are young Austrian Alexander Hajek from Tyrol KTM. He's 20 years old. Looks like a solid sort of all-rounder, more of a puncher type rider. So nice 3-year deal there. We'll see how he'll develop. They have a good program for those sort of riders at Bora. Like I assume he'll do Sibiu Tour or Settimana or those sort of races. So probably won't see him in the Grand Tours, but yeah, just another German speaker coming in. Masiuk, the Bahrain victorious rider, the Pole who took everybody down in the Tour of Flanders. He actually is a decent rider.
As in, he actually remember Tiberi? We remember Tiberi because of the cat killing, but is what Matichuk did that bad that we need to name him that every single time we see him?
Well, it's the most like notable thing he's done.
Yeah, that's true.
He was like, the punishment was a little bit over the top, I think, or inconsistent rather. Maybe it was correct, but inconsistent. Yeah. He's actually a decent rouleur though, so for someone probably not on very much money, I think he's actually a nice signing. Although, you know, not going to change your team too much. Ruja Adria is from Equipo Kern Pharma. He's 25. He's a Catalan sort of puncher type rider. Good in like he's been good in the 2.1 or the 1.1 classics without winning anything except a route Occitanie. I mean, Flesh he's 12th in Flesh. That's probably his best big boy result. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, like, I swear we've been talking about this man for ages. And he was like a combination between Hill Classics and also Classics, because I swear he was doing stupid tactical shit in Paris Tour 2 years ago or something. I swear we were hosting him in something related to Paris Tour at some point. But this man's talented. He's already 25, so that's not the youngest, but I think there's still a move upwards possible. So a bit of a classic / punchy situation going on. I'd love to see what he does in an Amstel Gold Race, personally.
It's just strange he's going to Bora, right?
Send him to Brabantse Pijl, I think he can top 5.
Like when I heard, I agree. But if you can top 5 GP in the rain, like you should have the physiological capability to top 10 at least for bounce. So, because Indurain's actually a hard race. But isn't it strange he's going to Bora?
Yep. We don't have many Spaniards going to Bora. Is that weird?
You know, it must be. Like, did Pachi Villa, because Pachi Villa's gone from Movistar now back to Bora, but then did he say sign Adria before? But no, but someone else has been signing these Hispanophones. Someone signed Higuita, someone signed Martinez.
Yeah. Same agent or not?
I don't know who Adria's agent.
I don't know either, actually.
But yeah, it's just I thought he'd go to Movistar for sure. But anyway, I got no problem with it. It's just curious. Sobrero from Jayco Lula. Not sure if you mentioned him. He won the Giro TT, a Giro TT in 22. A little bit anonymous in 23. Apart from that, Vuelta break, he got beaten by his now teammate Kamna and came second on that stage. Curious rider who's like quite slender, good TT, but actually can't really climb, which always like doesn't add up too much for me, so maybe he'll kick on. I don't think it's the biggest loss for Jayco actually. And Herzog from Hagensberg Action, hugely hyped junior. He in fact won the World Championships junior road race in Wollongong in 2022 ahead of Morgado, who's joining UAE, and won a hell of a lot else in that year, including Course Le Pays Junior, which is what not Norsgaard. What's his name? Nordhagen. He beat Nordhagen and Morgado in that race in 22 as a second-year junior. His U23 season not the best. In fact, not sure if he's injured because he didn't do L'Avenir, didn't do Baby Giro, didn't do Pay Junior, Pay Jasinski. Didn't do World Champs, so he must have been something must have been wrong.
Yeah, there's something off with the season. I don't know the exact reason either, but it just wasn't on the level of the junior years, and maybe it's just transition that didn't happen as well as he expected. The Herzog transition from junior and U23, and then you're wondering, oh, why did Bora sign him then? But maybe they already signed him in in the junior years. As in, maybe they already signed a contract saying you will come to Bora through Egan's Bermans, and that way it was already written in stone. So that's the gamble teams make when they make long-term agreements like that. And Bora wants to push forward on Herzog, and I kind of want to see where it goes. I've got the answer now. Go ahead.
Oh, he said, so he posted on Instagram that the 2023 season comes to the end, not the season he hoped for. Till the end of May, things were going okay. Then he got sick several times and wasn't able to train longer than 2 weeks consistently. Some weeks ago, we figured out that I had water in my heart, which gives a conclusion why the second part of the season was so bad. Lucky nothing was damaged. Water's already out again. Time to start my prep. Super motivated for the next year with Bora. So that explains that then.
Yeah, let's hope he kicks on, and let's hope we see the progression that we expected from him a few years ago.
Yeah.
But overall, when it comes to these transfers, by the way, I do want to push in there. I feel like Welsford should do a combination of the Giro, Renewy Tour and so forth, but also some of those Bauhaus World Tour races. I want to see him do Polonia. Just clean up some World Tour races. Add on to the Palmares of Bora for a bit. Because I feel like they should be having more than 7 World Tour wins if they send them to the right schedule.
Yeah, I think so. And maybe that was what they were hoping out of Bennett, but it wasn't able to. It didn't happen for whatever reason. I think he thought he was doing the Vuelta or the Tour. I can't remember. Certainly with Roglic and Martinez and Higuita and Vlasov, they'd just be hoping for more than 10 World Tour wins next year. You can combine, Benji, the Renewy Tour and the first week of the Vuelta next year. Can be combined. Okay. But I'm not sure.
And Polonia?
Roglic. Polonia, Polonia's earlier, yeah. That's the week before the Vuelta.
It's going to be a busy period for Welsford. At the end of the year, sorry, Welsford. Sam, going to Guangxi.
No, Roglic will do the Vuelta. Welsford won't be allowed to go. So how would you rate the signings, Benji? I would give it it's good. I think it's good. Like, they got in a lot of good riders. Yeah. But in terms of like value for upside, apart from Welsford, I'm not so sure. But then like German world champion in juniors, Herzog, like you have to sign him, and they did that, so that's good. But
I think it's an okay transfer season.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Sobrero and Martinez, I personally wouldn't, but Roglic, I think you got to give them credit for having the money ready to go and just make, obviously, pitching him and beating other teams that would have been pitching.
I still think that Martinez will be a better domestique than Conrad was. I still think Sobrero will be a better domestique than a Faber was, for example. Will that necessarily be the same type of domestique? Not necessarily, even though Sobrero can climb better than you would think from a flat time trialist initially in his early days. So I don't know. I'm relatively positive about the transfer season, especially with Roglic coming in, with Welsford coming in. Yes, they're replacing Kian Uiterbrooks, a potential future great GC talent, with a rider that is going to need to benefit in the next 2 years from his transfer, because Roglic is coming towards the end of his career in a few years. That's undoubtedly true. So it's that choice they made. They want instant success versus future success, which is they need to do that. Well, Visma can afford to go for the future success with Vingegaard already in the team. So it's a logical trade in my head. Yeah. It's still a big loss. Ideally, they would have kept both, but hey, there was nothing to do about it anymore after what potentially happened. So 2022-4 schedule, we spoke about it a tiny bit already.
But just on the points, just to draw a bow, just on points, Roglic 5,600 in 23.
Yeah.
Bora's biggest point scorer, Vlasov, 2,000. Yeah. So he's got 2.5 times the point. Like, that is.
But Roglic ain't scoring 5,000 points.
Yeah, that'll be tough. That's a lot of points.
That's one of the highest ones I reckon that he had in the last couple of years.
That'll be tough, but still, you take 4. Onto their schedule, Benji.
Classics. Let's be honest about it. Their classics team isn't really that great. They've got some opportunities, riders that could try and anticipate in the real classics, like E3s, the RVVs, and so forth. Like Holler, like he did in the past. I want to see what Adria does. Surrounding that, Koch, Herzog, Matichuk. But I reckon their classics focus should be de Kuurne, Brussel Kuurnes, Gent Wevelgems, Brugge de Pannes with Jordi Meus.
I agree. I think I'd said that as well. Like the flatter classics, they can really try to do something. I really want to see Meus. I want to see Welsford too. Like Welsford's good in the shit. If it's flat, in bad weather, wind, rain, Welsford's actually really good. And
That's true.
In the heat too, in that sort of conditions, like in Saudi. Shelter Praise is good. So he made like Group 1 as a Neo Pro.
That was a really good race with Casper van Uden as well in the same team.
That was a great race. That was a really good race. But
who won that? Was it Christoph? Or was that a different edition?
I think Christoph hit them with it.
Possible.
I think everyone was attacking. There was no control. Quickstep had like 3 weak riders in the group, and it was chaos. And Van Uden was super strong. But they're the race they should target. Even a race like E3 and Gent-Wevelgem seem realistically out of their reach because they don't even have someone making Group 2 anymore, except Van Poppel. I think Van Poppel's is it Van Poppel their best classics rider?
Ooh. I wouldn't say he's that great in classics.
He came ninth in Gent-Wevelgem. Yeah,
but Gent-Wevelgem is also not necessarily the craziest race to top 10 in if it's a regular sprint.
Yeah, but who's better than
top 5
him?
Gent-Wevelgem.
Who's better than him?
Jordi Meus in Gent-Wevelgem?
You know who is actually? And his schedule, now that I'm looking at it, is a madness. Bob Jungels.
True.
The answer is right here. They have Bob Jungels. He didn't do a one-day race until San Sebastian. On a team that has one of the worst World Tour Classic squads. Why is he doing Tour de Romandie? He did 74 race days, or Valenciana. Valenciana's fine, but I'm like, in the modern cycling, if a guy won Kuurne, Brussel Kuurne and Liège, my mind thinks he can at least participate in E3 for a top 15. In the way they race it now.
Well, he won Kuurne back in the day. Cavagna is who... No. Bob Jungels 2019 is what Cavagna thinks he is.
It's what Movistar hope he is, yeah.
Yes. But anyway, I agree with you. Jungels needs to be in the classics, like you mentioned. But it's a combination. He's won LBL as well in the past, so he might feel like he fits more there.
Yeah. Third in Dwars Tour.
Those were great races. Jungels was really good. And I reckon they should try that again. I would love to see that again. But Jungels was always stuck in this like limbo between all the disciplines to the point that I think he sometimes chose the wrong one. And he was a good domestique last year.
They Mauro Schmidted him.
Facts.
They did. They Mauro Schmidted him.
But he was a great domestique. I will add that though. It's not like he was useless in 2023.
No, I love Bob Jungels. He's like, those sort of riders, my favorite type of riders, like Kwiatkowski, different rider, of course, but like these Swiss Army knives, they're my favorite. But he has to do the classics to me. But Herzog should go if he's healthy, because that's the sort of profile rider. Hopefully he can do something. Like, hopefully he's just the god, and he's all of a sudden, even top 10s in some of the lead up to the Tour of Flanders races would be fantastic. I think, as like a process. So I would send Herzog with those guys you mentioned and try and hope for the best.
I also think that Meus needs a better schedule, as in
I agree.
After Tour de France, he went to Renouille Tour, then Tour of Luxembourg, Sparkasse Münster Giro, Paris-Bourges, and Paris Tour. I would send this guy to a shitload of Belgian chat GPT generated races after the tour.
Yes, dude. Do they do them?
They have done some in the middle of the season. For example,
I know the table's not everything, but like, it is good to like not be 10th.
Yep.
And if you can send also riders like Meus, riders like winning races, so especially at home.
Do a Gerben Thijssen.
Yeah. Okay, so that's probably the weakest part of their roster. Now, the part that I think is really looking strong, particularly if Poggi doesn't do all the Ardennes, is the Hill Classics. based on Roglic in the past and 2022 Bora, and that is they sort of got 4 leaders. Roglic, Vlasov, Martinez, Higuita. How will they work together? I'm not entirely sure. The best sprint in that group is... They all got a decent sprint on them, actually.
Yeah.
And we've seen them sprint against each other. But that's a good squad. That is a good... I mean, for Flesh, you just go for Roglic. But for Amstel and Liège, I think you got numbers you can play there.
Yep, I think so as well. I think Roglic for LBL is still a good bet. Yeah. But I agree that you can use Vlasov and Martinez to respond to people that try and benefit early and try and benefit from that. The question is like, if Remco goes, please follow with Roglic or something, or try and figure out a way to catch him that doesn't require you to send Vlasov with him and then Vlasov getting dropped by Remco later on in the race. So that's like the one thing that I also look out for. But I agree that numbers-wise, they should be looking good for the Hill Classics. Roglic is a good bet for those races. I would love to see. Is Pogacar doing Flash this year? I don't remember. I don't think he is. Shit, I would have loved to see Roglic versus Pogacar.
He can't win that race.
What?
Flash.
Pogacar?
Yeah.
He just did.
I know. So I was always like, can't win that.
I remember the days.
Yeah, I was like, fuck.
But I agree that the Hill Classics are definitely, and also Italian Classics, similar fashion, similar squad.
Oh, this team should clean Italian Classics.
Emilia, Lombardia. This is the moment where Roglic can step up to second or first in Lombardia with this team around.
Yeah.
Not that Jumbo was necessarily a bad team to be in for Lombardia either, but I feel like Sir Vlasov Martinez supporting you, I take it. Grand Tours now?
Grand Tours Giro. We said Welsford has to go, so he goes to the lead out of Van Poppel and Mullen. And then I don't really know what they'll do with Kamna. If Kamna wants to be a domestique, he can go to the Tour.
Mm-hmm.
If he wants to, I have a feeling Kamna will do the Giro and maybe go for GC again for his own result, because the time trial's good for him. Really good time trial. The mountain stages are not brutal. They're ones he can kind of hang on, a lot of them. I think it's a good Giro parcours for Kamna.
I'd send Sobrero with him. So we're at 5 riders then, right? Welsford, Van Poppel, Mullen, Sobrero, and Kamna. Outside of that, I don't really care who they send. Because, like, what do you think Hindi will do? Do you think he'll do Tour de France Vuelta then?
He'll have to do the Tour, yeah.
Yeah. But the problem is Tour de France Vuelta means that he's going to be combined with Roglic every single time.
Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles, I'm afraid.
True.
But yeah, they need a... He's unfortunately too good to send to the Giro. Whereas Kamna, like, they're like, oh, well, yeah, you go do GC there. So yeah, that's the Giro squad. I think they can actually get some nice results out of that race. Top 10 in GC and a couple of stage wins, I think, would be at the minimum goal.
Send him to the Giro to avoid having him as domestique for the Tour de France.
Yeah, I think they will. Tour de France, Roglic will be leading the team in GC. I presume they'll send Hindley because I think he'll be in the Koos role, or maybe even a co-leader. That might be the smarter thing to do. And then they need some rouleurs. So obviously, I think Jungels is a no-brainer as a stage racer. Haller, I think you have to send because this team is thin on rouleurs. Like
Dens.
Yeah, Dens is solid. So Dens, Haller, and but can they climb?
Dens was...
Dens can climb. No, Dens can climb.
Jungels can do both.
But that's the problem with someone like Mullen, right? Like Mullen, because you might want to bring Mullen to keep Roglic safe on the sprint stages, because that's if you want to win the Tour, half the thing with Roglic is not having him crash. So like it's all well and good to talk about, all right, we need Hindley to do the Koos roll to set him up for this stage finish, but fuck, if he's crashed, it's not very helpful. You got to think also about the rouleurs, and I don't think Nico Dens can do that role. Pollitt can, gone. Haller, yeah, but not on his own. Yeah. that's where I look at someone.
They'll probably be better off than we think, I think.
Oh, I disagree. I think
the danger of Roglic crashing is real.
No, I'm just saying it's something you got to focus on, and you got to try hold front position to 3Ks. And the guys that I see that can do that, being Mullen for sure, is very good at that, and Mayus, they can't climb a lick. Like, they can't climb. So can they get round the course the 3 weeks? Can they help in a stage start that's not pancake flat? But there's a lot of stages that are traditional sprint stages too, so it's all a trade-off. Maybe does Danny Van Poppel climb okay or nah?
He climbs hills, yes.
Like Laporte,
no.
Climbing.
Laporte was really good when it comes to his climbing last year at the Tour as well, though. But I'd say BTEC Laporte. Yeah.
But, maybe those guys focus on it, and maybe they're like, if you get told in December, hey, you need to be like 2-3 kilos lighter than normal for the Tour so you can get around. I mean, that's 6 months, 7 months. You can probably do that, and someone like Mullen probably super motivated. So maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. Just something to bear in mind, because that is something important.
Do you think weakness?
Do you think they'll be on the level? How do you think they'll be the third strongest team at the race?
Ooh, as in
UAE Visma, and then
UAE and Visma. We've obviously got Visma and UAE. I wonder how Trek will fit in. Gegenhard and Roglic is still a difference. Like, Roglic is still on paper a better GC rider than Gegenhard, but Gegenhard at the Giro was really good. So if Gegenhard can show up with the level he had at the Giro at the start, and you've got Pedersen and so forth.
Pedersen's a fucking animal. Pedersen is like,
mate, the stuff
such a good domestique. The stuff he did for Skelmoser.
Yeah, true. Like Ciccone, I don't remember where he's. I think he's going to the Giro if I recall correctly. But
yeah, he's doing the Giro.
Trek also has a team where I'm like, they could also potentially compete for that third spot. And then I look at Ineos, and they're also not too far off. So I'm looking at these 5 teams. So they could compete for third spot. I think they're probably more likely to be third best GC team, in my opinion, than Lidl and Ineos, but it's still fragile, dependent on Primož's crash rate, for example, because he's not exactly the most crash-avoiding rider, just like Remco is these days, kind of.
Yeah, Remco, same thing. I think Bora will definitely have a better mountain domestique than either of Ineos or Trek in Hindley.
Question.
But they might have better rouleurs.
Gus, Adam Yates, Hindley as your super domestique. Can Hindley compete with Adam Yates in 23 as super domestique?
Oh, with Yates?
2024.
No, Yates is like the fucking third best rider in the world. Yates is better than Roglic, dude.
Bruh. Oh God.
Sort of joking.
Sort of.
On long climbs and a hard stage, Adam Yates is...
Sorry.
He is fucking good.
On Jabella feet, he's the best in the world.
No, I'd take Roglic on her feet.
Get the fuck out of here.
On Laporte, Roglic on Angliru and Laporte, Roglic Watts were mad.
Yeah, that's true.
On a Unipuerto like that, though. I would take Roglic against anyone on her feet. Anyone.
Roglic at Bora, will that be different than Roglic at Visma?
Oh, I don't know about that, but like right now, like on that finish, I'll take him on against anyone on that finish. But what was the question? Oh, can Hindley do that job? Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, he was on track to come 5th at the Tour, let's say. Like, you put that guy in a domestique role, of course, yeah.
He'll be happy to do it.
He's also, I reckon he can do a nice sprint lead out too, uphill sprint lead out for Roglic. Like, Hindley got a decent sprint on him.
Yeah, we saw that. Well, we can say we saw that, but that was also against Romain Bardet and so forth at the Giro.
No, he does have like for a slent. Like I'm not saying he's Danny Van Poppel, but like he can do it. He can do
it's like a
for the
sprint
Roglic finish.
Between 2016 Fabio Otto and Romain Bardet we're judging here.
Yeah, they don't got me. Yeah, but I think he's the best part of the support. Hindley, if indeed that's his role, they may be co-leaders. We're just, I don't know.
Martinez is also good, eh?
Which one do you get?
Domestique Martinez will show up. GC
sure?
Martinez, I have less confidence in.
He didn't show up Martinez, in the 2022 Tour de France.
He'll come back. He'll return.
Okay. No, listen,
you're nitpicking that one Grand Tour.
Most of the Grand Tours he's not been good, except a couple of stages here or there. But certainly those two for a sprint, those two are very, very good on form. Yeah. But yeah, I can't wait to see. It's good to have this discussion. Who's going to challenge the two Visma and UAE, and I hope Bora are right there and breakaway. Like imagine breakaway formation with now a third team jumping with trying to get Hindley in, but also now Hindley's teammates Roglic sitting in the group on the Marie Blanc stage. Like imagine that situation. Like that's got to be good for fans in the Tour next year. So hopefully they are firing. Vuelta, I think, Roglic and whoever else, don't really mind to go. I think you see that Vuelta parkour, Benji? It's a good parkour for Roglic.
Yeah, I think you need to send Higuita somewhere.
Do you?
Just stay in Colombia the entire year. Is that what your plan is for Higuita?
Well, he was at this Vuelta.
Was he?
Yeah.
He's kind of like who's that? Was an Ecuadorian guy that was invisible in the Giro 3 years ago? What's his name?
Oh, who was good in Tour of the Alps? I know the one you mean. Yeah, Cepeda. Yeah, everyone put him in their Velo Games team because he was cooking in Tour of the Alps.
And then he disappeared.
Yeah, and then JV got him. See, it was a different Cepeda. But
Martinez,
no, on that point.
Vuelta too.
When you go to a Grand Tour with the pre-race favorite or pre-race top 3 favorite, all of a sudden you can't just have someone like Higuita there filling up numbers and no, everyone has to do a role. There has to be rouleurs controlling breakaways. There has to be rouleurs keeping guys safe in hectic situations. There's got to be medium mountain guys. There's got to be a guy doing sprint lead-outs for Roglic at intermediates. There's got to be guys keeping him safe to 3 kilometers to go. There's got to be guys doing getting in bottles on medium mountain stage and mountain stages. You need all 7 support riders for a proper top-tier favorite.
You'd almost need to send them to the Giro or something to have them have a Grand Tour this year. Because that's the Grand Tour where they don't necessarily have that. Unless Hindley surprisingly does the Giro, which right now I wouldn't expect. I'd expect him to do.
I think Vlasov will do it. Now that I think about it, should be Vlasov Kamna at the Giro.
Sense. Makes
sense.
The
TT, yeah.
Yeah, we completely skipped Vlasov, didn't we?
Okay, that's what are the realistic aims for Bora? Like if you're setting their goals, I think it's got to be Benji. One is win the Tour de France. You got a 3-year contract with Roglic.
That's the goal you signed him for.
It's attainable. It's realistic. It's realistic. It's a smart.
I don't see it as realistic, but I see it as a goal they should have regardless of it being realistic. That makes sense?
Yeah.
As in, you signed him for that. Now try and make it happen.
Yeah.
And something can always happen to Vingegaard or Pogacar.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not impossible in that sense.
The second one's win the Vuelta. I think it's win a Grand Tour. And honestly, if you send Vlasov and I mean, I know Poggy's there, but podium the Giro probably.
Yeah, it's a
good route for Vlasov too. Yeah.
The Livigno climb, I'm kind of like, that's a bit long for Vlasov.
Yeah, it won't happen.
Try and win a hill climb. Try and win a monument.
Yeah, Lombardia or Liège, yeah.
Exactly. And in addition, I would also add to the point, you've got Roglic, you've got Welsford coming to the team. Win more.
Yeah. I think win.
Be more consistent throughout the year.
15 World Tour races minimum. I'd probably set the goal at 20.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't say with those guys and Martinez and Higuita having better seasons, I think realistically, like to say, hey, we really knocked out of the park this year, you want to have 20 World Tour wins, which is still, it's half of Jumbo this year. So, like, that's realistic too with those riders they got in. Like, Roglic won like 13 World Tour races this year, 15 on himself. So, I think 20 minimum. And then finished probably finished third in the ranking. And then on more of the sprint train, we've spoken a lot about Roglic, but I think have the best sprinter and lead-out combo in the world.
I think that's a difficult one against Alpecin, but I think you need to try.
True, yeah. I think they could do it, though. I think Philipsen is the best, but I don't think, without Van der Poel, particularly all year, I think Boras can be the best. And so I want to see that really click.
And then when it comes to youngsters, you always expect the youngsters to make a step forward, like the Herzogs of the world and so forth. But I would also... Why does Bora choose to work with Tirol and with Hagen's Burmans instead of having their junior team and building a U23 team on top of that towards their World Tour team? It's like they have a gap in their pipeline that they have to outsource to other continental teams right now.
Yeah, but I think they kind of get all the German speakers they want like they get first dibs on them anyway. Except for Brenner, so that didn't happen.
Because the reason they did work with Tirol and so forth was because they wanted to fill up that gap. But I don't think it works as well to have an outsourced team do that than having it internally. Because then you have, let's be honest about it, you only select a few riders from your U19 to go through that system. So why don't you have a larger pool of U23 riders to pick from then? That's what I'd like to see this team have a U23 team in the future instead of working with U23 teams in the future.
It's true. Isn't that what AG2R just filled the gap with?
AG2R had a U19 and U23 team back in the day, but I think one of them fell away. No? I
feel like they just filled that gap recently.
No, actually,
I don't know.
In my head, one of their teams folded.
Maybe the junior team folded. Yeah, maybe the junior team. Maybe I'm just misremembering. Okay. I think that's all for this. Oh, hot takes, Benji.
Mate, World Tour wins. How much do you think?
Oh, let me just check how many Roglic won this year.
Elevator music. Tune in.
Well, I can't say 50. He won 11 World Tour races, so they won 7 this year. And Martinez will have a better year, and then Vlasov will probably win one. And okay, I still don't think. And Welsford, how many they win when they were good? You got to go first, Benji. I'm thinking about this too much.
I think Bora is going to make the biggest step in World Tour wins of any team in World Tour right now.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
So far, when it comes to my World Tour victory picks that I had for all the teams, I feel like I went backwards with Jumbo Visma because the lack of Roglic and that Kian won't be able to step up to that plate yet. And for the other teams, it's relatively similar, but I've got a bit less World Tour wins than you, so I'm going to have to bet a bit high on Bora. So I'm going to go for 18 World Tour wins.
Yeah, I'm going 18 as well.
Oh man, you're cheating. You're taking my pick.
Well, because when they had Ackerman, Bennett, and Sagan, they won 22 in 2018. But they don't have 3 sprinters. They got
It depends on the schedule.
It does.
Welsford to Polonia. I'm saying it. Welsford to Guangxi. You're gonna clean World Tour wins.
Yeah. He might. If Welsford wins 7 World Tour races, that's a pretty fucking good year.
Yeah.
But like, are you sure Roglic is gonna win 10? He's doing he's doing a nasty. He's gonna do a more competitive schedule next year.
I'll be fine. I don't think he'll win 10. I think Welsford is gonna be the one that steps up. If the schedule is right. And to be honest, I don't expect the schedule to be right.
Yeah. Anyway, 18 is an increase of
11.
2.5x. So yeah, it's a big goal. Hot takes, Benji. Who do you think is out of contract? for BORA-hansgrohe is a lot of riders, over half the team, I think.
Mhm.
Bob Jungels, Vlasov, Buchmann, Schachmann, Hindley, Egita, Kemner are the main ones. Who do you think is leaving or staying out of Vlasov, Hindley, Egita, Jungels?
If I'm Hindley, I'm considering leaving because I'm working for Roglic all fucking year.
Yeah.
That's kind of bites Hindley in the ass, the coming of Roglic. So it depends on whether he's future-proof at Bora. If they can promise that the second Roglic leaves, he's king again, then he might
That's in
consider
2027.
staying. That is in 2020. Well, depends whether Roglic goes backwards or not. So might already be 2026. Yeah. Vlasov, I don't think they'll resign. Buchmann either. Nah? I wouldn't resign
Buchmann. They'll resign Buchmann, I think. He's German.
Depends on the price. I wouldn't sign him for decent money. He's podiumed the Tour de France, no? Or fourth? No? Did you podium?
Yeah.
Fourth.
No, which one? We always get Stevie K and him mixed up.
Stevie K podiumed, right?
Did he?
Did he not?
Buchmann fourth.
No icebergs in the Tour de France, so.
No. Not these days.
I'd skip.
You'd let him go, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'd resign Denz.
Yeah, I would sign.
You have to resign him. I'd keep Palzer.
Palzer?
Yeah.
I mean, if Red Bull pay the salary, sure, but...
I watched the Tour of Turkey, man. He was on fire. Did you not watch the Tour of Turkey? Come on, man. It was that huge climb.
I watched it. Yeah, I watched it, but...
Palzer was a decent domestique. Sweehoff was better, though. Sweehoff is a resign.
Sweehoff's good. No.
Am I mixing them up?
I think you... Palzer, I don't think is very good. Like,
resign
I know that
Sweehoff is what I meant.
Sweehoff's a legit good rider. Like,
yes.
I think he's legit good.
Kemna stays?
Lipovitz is actually very good. I really like. I think he's one of Luke's favorites. Or is that Engelhardt? Am I mixing the two Germans?
I think you're mixing the two Germans.
No, he won Czech Tour. No, he's good.
I signed this guy on Pro Cycling Manager 3 years ago, and he fucking sucked. It's very sad.
Nah, Florian Lipovitz is good. They should re-sign him for sure. I'd like to see him on another 3-year deal as a sort of see what he can do as a climber. Aliotti, I would let go. Gamper, I'd need to see something. Joe Lewis was a strange one that they signed so young when he clearly wasn't ready. But anyway, we'll see. So there'll be some changes there. Schachmann's also out of contract. But hot takes for this team. I think they win. I was trying to figure out, could they win more World Tour stage races than UAE?
They could, but they won't.
That will be my hot take. I think Bora win more World Tour stage races than UAE.
I'll accept that as a hot take, that's for sure. Oh,
I don't know how that will happen.
Me neither.
Let's put it out there. I think they win Lombardia. Yeah. I think they're the best Italian classics. I mean, Poggi and Yates are pretty good. Fuck, I'm overrating them now.
Sweehoff wins the Giro stage.
Yeah, I'll take that. They should send the German All Stars to the Giro.
Yeah. What else can we say?
I reckon they got the zero shot keeping Roglic safe.
They got to send him to GP Denay again. That was an epic race with Roglic in it.
He was cooking, dude.
He nearly won GP Denay.
Yeah, he was fucking good. And even in the cobble stage in the Tour, he was in the front group. He actually wasn't doing anything wrong.
Yeah,
he just got. So yeah, I don't assume Roglic to hit the gravel and just go and like. Like, he'll be front group. Like, he's punchy rider.
The issue is not the gravel. The issue is the
it's
run
the sprint
into the gravel.
stages. Yeah. It's not the gravel. It's the sprint stages, the hectic and the flat and that stuff. So we'll see. Do you think there'll be a mutiny? Do you think there'll be a mutiny though?
Nah.
You got no hot takes for them, Benji. All right, that's BORA-hansgrohe's preview.
I said a hot take. 3.5 stage.
Oh, Zion, no, he's a fucking good rider. Come on.
Jungels wins. I don't fucking know. Jungels wins Tour of Flanders.
Thank you for reminding me.
Is that good enough? Is that good enough?
Yeah, that's actually finally we're getting some hot takes out of you. Bob Jungels.
Both wins Renewey Tour. Okay.
No, that's Benji. Let's be serious. It's a serious podcast. Yeah, I reckon Jungels will go classics now, and he'll be their best rider. Okay, that's all from the BORA-hansgrohe preview. Big changes, biggest transfer, I think, of the last 5 years at least. Can't wait to see how it pans out. Definitely good for neutral fans next year, and I can't wait for that Tour de France battle. Hopefully they all get to the start line without issues. Thanks for listening, as always, and we'll see you at the Automarché Circus Wanty-Gobert Materia Tom de Vrint special when?
Circus is gone.
Are they?
They are. Spoilers.
Okay, well, we're about to discuss what a circus is. Until then, ciao.